Step one to buying your first property is going to be to get your why together. Look, if you're lucky, you'll have a really smooth process with buying your first property. But for most people, it's going to require a decent amount of time and energy to find the place that's right for them and their goal. And without a strong why, you might find yourself doubting the process. You'll probably also be unclear on what you're actually looking for in a property if you don't keep your why at the forefront. So why did I buy a house? First and foremost, this is an investment property, if that's not clear already. I've wanted to invest in real estate since middle school, and that was because I saw how much of a difference maker it was in my life and for my family. And I actually thought I would buy my first house when I was 18. No real plan, no goals, just vibes, you know? I was like, I'll be 18 and that's old enough to buy a property. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Inspired Investors channel. I'm Caleb, and this video will be the second video in a series designed to help you buy your first property. In future videos, we'll get into more detail and share some real stories as to what it looks like and what you can expect. But for this video, I want to organize it in a way that's easily understandable and that's actionable. So I'll be giving you the step-by-step of how to buy your first investment property and giving a little bit of my experience for each example. This example will focus primarily on people who are going to get financing from traditional institutions. So no hard money, no private lenders, no all cash type stuff. Not this time anyway. And nothing especially creative. All that being said, let's get into step two. Find a lender and get pre-approved, AKA getting your financial situation together. So again, for simplicity's sake, let's just say you are going to a bank or a mortgage broker for your loan. What they're gonna wanna see is your credit, proof of income. So this could be like the last 2 years of your taxes or the last few months of bank statements, a job offer letter, probably all these things, honestly. And they wanna see some reserves. And for the best rates, you wanna have a credit score of at least 740 or above. So you can talk with your loan officer about all this stuff. They don't really cost you anything until you close, so make sure you leverage them as a resource. For me, I had great credit. Shout out to the Credit Matters playlist. You should watch that if you're working on your credit. And I was a graduating student, so that kind of, if you're a student who's graduating from college, that counts as your 2 years work history as well. And for me, I had a signed job offer letter. I didn't have, W-2s or anything like that because I was still in school. But I did have my signed offer letter, which said how much I would be making. And I actually went to my bank, the one that I keep my checking account with, and they wouldn't take my offer letter as like proof of income. So I found a broker that would. For me, finding my broker was pretty easy. I got referred by my agent and by a mentor of mine to the exact same lender, and they were both awesome and my lender was fire. So went through the pre-approval process and got pre-approved for over 500K, which was way more than I thought. And that's a pretty common thing. So it's good to have an idea of how much you actually want to spend because you'll probably get pre-approved for a lot more. Again, talk to your loan officer about specifics. It costs nothing to talk to them and they get paid when you buy a property. So they're happy to be helpful as long as you need them to be. Step three, get an ideal deal in mind. You have a pre-approval, but how much do you actually want to spend? Where do you want to be / invest? Are you looking for a single unit, multi-unit? How much do you want to cash flow? How will you pay your mortgage? Is this a turnkey property or a value add? For me, my property was turnkey, meaning that it doesn't need much work, it's move-in ready, but it was at the top of my budget. However, the deal was still good, and I have a lot of faith in the area that I'm in. There's a lot of construction. There's gonna be a new hospital, a Whole Foods, and some luxury apartment buildings. Make sure you find a good deal so you don't have to justify your deal by saying all that extra stuff like I did. Anyway, step 4 is to get an agent and a lawyer if your state requires it. Again, we'll get into a lot more detail on this in future videos, but once you do have your agent, you have your financing in place, and you have a lawyer if you need one, you are ready for step 5, which is staying strong and finding your deal. And this can be a lot harder than it sounds to find a deal. You'll likely look on the popular sites like Realtor, Zillow, Redfin, but networking is gonna be really valuable here, especially if you're looking to find a good deal. When you do find it, you want to move on to step 6 and put a contract on it. I know this can be intimidating because most of us don't sign contracts every day, but it's not complicated at all. It's really as simple as telling your agent, hey, I want this house. And honestly, it's not even that binding of a contract. There's ways to get out of your contract through your inspections. Which brings us to step 7, getting your inspections, insurance, and asking for seller's credits. When it comes to inspections, I recommend hiring a professional. They generally do a great job and they can offer an additional layer of protection, especially when you're asking for seller's credits, which is money from the seller to repair things that are wrong with the house that you didn't know before. So some deal breakers that you want to be on the lookout for when you're going through an inspection that you can probably spot yourself and you want to be sure that your inspector checks out are 1, foundational and major structural issues, and 2, major systems issues. So this is your HVAC, plumbing, and electrical issues. You can follow your inspector around while they're doing their inspection. I would recommend taking your own notes and asking questions and even asking for referrals if you don't know people who can do the work that's needed. After all your inspections are done and you negotiate your credits from the seller, it's time to close. So when you go to the closing table, someone will be present to explain every document to you, and you basically just sign papers forever. My closing took 2.5 hours, so hopefully yours is faster. But by the end of it, you've closed. You did it. The property is yours, and it's time for every investor's favorite part. Step 9 is managing the property. And unless you're house hacking like I am, factoring a management company into your numbers when you're doing step 3 makes sense for most people because managing tenants is the biggest headache for most investors. And if you're anything like me, before you get a good handle on step 9, you'll probably be ready to start this whole process again for your next property, which is why I made this video here on scaling your rental portfolio. The rest of the series will be coming early next year, so in the meantime, let me know if you do have questions about the house that I bought, how much it was, how did I save for it, how did I find my agent, etc. I'm happy to respond in the comments or do a live on our Instagram at Inspired Investors, but only really if the interest is there. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.